Show. We have a great weekend of football coming up. We'll be all about it tomorrow morning at 11.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, run and gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a joke on the show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on
GameTime Decisions live on SportsGrid with you on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh here from the Decisions Desk as we get set for another big night of basketball. It is the NBA that steps up. The college game has been dominating the last 2 days here on GameTime Decisions, and rightfully so. We saw an upset yesterday come at the hands of the Georgia Bulldogs in overtime, losing to Ole Miss. We saw North Carolina blow a late lead out west against Stanford as well. A very fun college basketball 2 days. You are settling in tonight from a ranked perspective, only with top 10 Gonzaga on the road against Washington State. We'll see what the Zags have. There is some other college basketball, but we know that this is going to draw a lot less from people with tonight's board being more Horizon, SoCon, Little American East, Sun Belt, right? But those games are out there if you would like to get in the mix. On the NBA side of things, we have a really, really good board. Tips off in Detroit at 7 o'clock. No Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns, so it'll put a little bit more on the plate of Dylan Brooks, Mark Williams. On the other side is a Detroit team that brings back some of their best players, so that'll be a fun one to follow. But the primetime action here, a rematch from opening night, ring night. Oklahoma City hosted Houston in a fantastic double overtime game. First time these teams have played since then. OKC, in their most recent outing, finally put a win on the board against the San Antonio Spurs, winning by 21 points. The Rockets just recently snapped a 3-game losing streak. And relatively speaking, this is a healthier game. Now, that's because OKC, health-wise, is graded on a different scale. Despite having the best record and looking like the best team, they are seemingly missing a starter every single night, likely to miss 2 tonight unless Lou Dort surprises and plays in this game. But with Hartenstein out, you're still getting a great group out of OKC on the road as favorites against Houston, who do have Şengün, Durant, Amen Thompson all going in this basketball game. Late night primetime, Golden State up to 7.5-point favorites against the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson confirmed out for this basketball game. An ankle injury in the first quarter against the Sacramento Kings. With this game being on a back-to-back, it was really going to give Brunson no chance to come back and actually play in this game. The question becomes, when will we see Jalen Brunson again? This is, look, it's never really a great time to lose your lead man, but this is a Knicks team that has lost 6 of their last 8 basketball games, obviously booked as underdogs to lose here tonight against Golden State. They do return home this Saturday for 3 consecutive with Phoenix, Dallas, and then the Brooklyn Nets all coming to Madison Square Garden. Brunson was seen not with a walking boot, no crutches, so I think the timeline is optimistic, but you wonder, could a stretch of basketball without Brunson, if it goes that long, lead to the Knicks being a little more inclined to make a trade? It's possible. And one name the Knicks will remain heavily connected to is, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, as the Greek Freak is the biggest possible name we could be seeing traded at the NBA's trade deadline, though Giannis refuses to ask out. And that might just keep him in Milwaukee, I don't know, the rest of his career. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. He plays in a marquee matchup tonight against really his counterpart. I love when we get the Greek Freak versus the Alien. Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs, 7.5-point favorites. What's noteworthy is each of these teams enter tonight on a 2-game losing streak. For San Antonio, that means a little bit more than it necessarily does for Milwaukee, as this is a Spurs team who are trying to be in the race for that number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and losing to both Oklahoma City and Minnesota in consecutive games, it's going to hurt within that race. Wemby, though, it is important to know, slowly but surely getting back to the minutes that we were enjoying early season. This is a guy who was playing 35-plus minutes before his first injury of the season knocked him out, while not getting through 30 minutes just yet, back in the starting lineup, scoring 20-plus with frequency. I think you look for Victor Wembanyama to have a really good game tonight going up against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Other big things to keep your eyes on, of course, you could certainly be involved in your NHL slate on this Thursday night. It's a pretty sizable card there. ESPN has multiple games. Pittsburgh and Philly with the Penguins at home, a decent favorite against the Philadelphia Flyers. Late night, the Vegas Golden Knights booked as home favorites against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Some of the best bets tonight will feature from this card as well. And we mentioned it a few times in the build-up because I know there's a lot of golf fans that watch this show and get ready and excited for the PGA season. Well, we right now are live in Hawaii at the Sony Open. Now, Hawaii, much different start times. You actually have a number of golfers who have yet to tee off. You probably will not see this full field tee until 6:30. I know some of it says 6:19, but there's already delays. Maybe 7 o'clock. There's going to be golf on. I mean, it feels like until midnight at this rate here. The clubhouse lead right now sits at 8 under, belonging to Kevin Roy and Nick Taylor. The live market has Ben Griffin booked as the favorite. He sits 7 under, a shot off of Nick Taylor. Russell Henley, the pre-tournament favorite, is into the clubhouse at 5 under, 3 shots off the lead, as the only other golfer right now booked under 10-1 in market. Now, some of the news that has played out since we last spoke here on the decisions desk is the New York Giants were able to secure John Harbaugh. Now, interestingly enough, this has not been announced and fully finalized from the Giants' side, but we know that is coming. All of the reporting that has come out has let us know that Harbaugh is going to be signing a multi-year deal to become the new lead man with the New York Giants. So the questions then immediately, well, what are the expectations, and will Harbaugh be able to meet them? Because I think it's I don't know if important reminder, it just seems to be something no one cares about. Harbaugh did not get fired, and his contract didn't run out in Baltimore. He was fired due to a failure to meet expectations. Now, look, it was also, I think, due to a poor relationship with the franchise quarterback and Lamar Jackson. I don't love either of those truths. I think what's very interesting as I speak to some people, around the New York Giants, those who, follow this team closely, there's an excitement to get winning football. 9-8, 10-7. And the idea is Harbaugh is going to bring that. I think it's a complicated road that we walk here. Again, will the Giants win total only require them to win 9 games? Maybe. And will they get there? Here's the thing. Also maybe. Like, that is one of the forgotten elements for Harbaugh is they failed in Baltimore with Lamar. And they were seen yearly best roster in football. And people want me to do backflips over Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo now getting to play for John Harbaugh. I'm on a little bit of an island with this one. We'll get into it more tonight, update the rest of the coaching cycle. Let's talk some Spurs Bucks next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime decisions. We are here on a Thursday night, and I think we should get a little bit into this matchup between the Bucks and the Spurs. I listen, Rockets Thunder. We've got action in it. We'll get to it, but I do love the opportunity to put two of the best players in the sport against one another. There's only a handful of guys that make that argument. Giannis and Wemby are two of them, and they do so in an important time in the NBA season, right? We are approaching the All-Star break, which means we are approaching the NBA trade deadline. And you have to wonder, and please don't put that up because that is wrong. Please don't put that up. You have to wonder what each of these teams are expecting over these next 2 weeks. Because for San Antonio, there's been a notion to preach patience. And I more than agreed with that notion because they were super young, and I didn't think they'd be great this year. I thought it was a roster that was asking Victor Wembanyama to not only look like one of the 5 best players, but a lot of other guys to come along for the ride, and they're double-checking these boxes. When Wemby is out there, he feels like one of the 5 best players in the NBA. And Fox and Castle give them a very dangerous starting guard combination. Look, the Dylan Harper progression, it's coming along, but they're not rushing that progression. And for this team, where they sit now, that's fine. Keldon Johnson, Champagnie, these guys play their role very, very well right now in San Antonio, which then all of a sudden, in an interesting way, you now get more pressure to make moves. Some might say, look, the youth is all working. We have all the time in the world, but windows are never as long as you want them to be. And there are some people who believe that due to Victor Wembanyama's outlier size, perhaps his reign of terror won't be as long as everybody thinks. And I don't think San Antonio has to believe that to be willing to push in. What I think they should probably believe is what I think San Antonio should believe is it doesn't hurt to win championships now, and then lean even more on Wemby to win championships later. And I'm saying all of this because on the other side of the court is potentially the most important player in the NBA, in Giannis Antetokounmpo. A preseason pick for me to actually win league's MVP. And statistically, like always, he has the case. Giannis, despite minutes limits and games where he exits early so the numbers are all dropped down, still gives you 29, 10, and 6. And again, if you remove a game where he scored 2 points, had a rebound and an assist in 3 minutes, it's 30, 11, and 7, right? Why Giannis is so important is because he could, at any moment, press the button and get out of Milwaukee. The Bucks know what this season is. They thought it would be more. It's not. It's not. Their only chance ever at doing anything is having Giannis available, and that is not proven to necessarily be enough this year. They are, at the moment, outside of the Eastern Conference play-in, despite the fact that multiple of those spots are occupied by teams under 500. So for Giannis, who wants to be not just a Bucks legend, but forever beloved, you got to accept that those things are in the barn already, Giannis. And I think they will love you forever, especially if you get traded and the return is fantastic. What I don't think people would love in Milwaukee is if Giannis not only presses the button, but goes to the extreme of, I'm only going to the Knicks. If you look at the prediction markets, there's a strong belief that Giannis Antetokounmpo will stay with Milwaukee. If he is going to be moved, the Knicks are that second option. There is some Toronto, there is some Miami. But all 3 of those Eastern Conference teams read as, outside of Milwaukee, Giannis pointing and saying, there. That's where I want to go. And I know that that is within his right. Of course it is. But Giannis should not lose sight of why he wants out of Milwaukee. It's not the weather, right? Price of gas didn't go up. I mean, maybe it did. I don't know. But that's not a problem for Giannis. It's because he wants to win. And if he really wants to win, maybe he breaks the bank here a little bit and finds that team that sits at 1% in the Giannis Antetokounmpo next team market and goes to the San Antonio Spurs. I think tonight Giannis, at the minimum, gives him something to think about. Giannis loves a challenge, and Victor Wembanyama is exactly that. In his career against Wemby, 3 games, averages 35, 15, and 7. And that's not just like a one-game inflation. I mean, there is a 44 piece in there. He scored 44, 25, and 35. Rebound lines are 14, 16, and 14. Assist lines are 7, 8, and 6. Giannis Antetokounmpo over 30.5 points plus rebounds was going to make my card regardless of the bounce back spot. But then you get him off of a game where he didn't score 30 and 3 consecutive without 10 rebounds. It's a smash opportunity here for Giannis in the props market tonight. My favorite way to play it is over 38.5 points plus rebounds. You can get that at a few places. If you have to play the 39.5s, I think those are still all system goes. This feels, I'll say this, I didn't bet it because I find the promo to be ridiculous. But if there was ever going to be a night where I was going to bet the 50-piece jackpot thing, it would be Giannis here. He has a major night tonight. Plenty of action, though. In the NBA, we get to the rest of this card after the break on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on a Thursday night. Let's do best bets for myself, the team, and then we will go through the rest of the NBA card here on this Thursday. The Maniacs in the back have gone Game of the Year style on Sabres Canadians. That's what happens when Casino Chris gets a best bet to come in on Montreal, and Yarnell is dedicated to betting the same guy each and every night in the props market. I am pretty sure the Sabres are playing their 7th consecutive game in 7 straight days, because I've seen Josh Doan anytime goal about 100 times this week. Hey, he's got to score again, right? I'll tell you this, though. If you're like me and you're not scared of a little vindictive root the Josh Doan weekend goals. Root the Josh Doan weekend goals. It's going to be hard to catch one then, baby. Chris, with a straight bet over the 6.5. Canadians, Sabres. All right, then. He's a hockey guy. What do you know? Man, you hope it doesn't land 6. Kentucky LSU gave him enough to deal with last night. So let's just try and root him in. AJ with a mystery pick to some degree. What do I mean by that? Well, from AJ, it's actually completely predictable, and I say that very kindly. It is Hornets money line, a number that looks like either the Lakers are awful or the Hornets have figured this thing out and are going to actually be good now that they are much healthier. Maybe a little A, a little bit of B, but clearly the bets keep coming in on Charlotte. The Lakers line is down to 3.5 points in most spots tonight. So certainly one to keep your eyes on late night. Con Knippel could be in for a bounce back from beyond the arc if you're looking for a parlay piece. For me, there are 4 other spots that I played outside of Giannis in the NBA. It starts in Detroit. I laid 7.5. I was aiming to bet the Pistons when I thought Devin Booker was going to play. I thought this line should have moved more with the Booker absence. I know the Suns are very, very good against the number off of a loss, but so is Detroit. Right now, 6-3 against the spread. They've not lost consecutive home games this year. While the Suns have had this fantastic season, they're the best team in the NBA against the number. They've only played 3 games without Devin Booker, and they've been obliterated in 2 of them. The Pistons, off a loss, are capable of that type of result. I think it's a really good Pistons spot tonight. I'll lay 7.5. The other side I did take was the Jazz plus 3.5. There are some key injuries on the NBA board tonight. Listen, it's never as simple as good player out, so they lose. But the Jazz plus 3.5, they are so used to Larry Markkinen not playing. I mean, this team has been tanking for 25 straight years, it feels like at this point. But they certainly have been tanking during the entire Larry Markkinen stretch. For the Dallas Mavericks to not have Cooper Flagg is awful, because you have to remember how much Dallas not only relies on Cooper Flagg, but they're also still missing Anthony Davis. So this is a team down quite literally their 3 best players, if you want me to be a jerk about it and mention that Kyrie Irving doesn't play. Also, P.J. Washington might miss this game. Max Christie might miss this game. Daniel Gafford might miss the Mavericks are depleted. I know the Jazz can't guard, but I like this team off a loss in Dallas. Keontae George, not off an outrageous game. That was the Bryce Sensabaugh show. I'm happy to play the Jazz here at plus 3.5. I did take a Celtics team total over 118.5. Boston, in their last 2 games, didn't crack 100. That happened once prior in their other 37 basketball games. You now go on the road to Miami, who a little bit healthier, getting back to their up and down pace. Bam Adebayo out there. We saw the game against Phoenix almost get 250 points on the board. Boston, with Jaylen Brown back in the lineup, will let the threes fly, and I think score something like 125 tonight. I don't want any part of the Miami offense, whether it shows up or not. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, no sweat off my back. And then the best bet, as you saw on the graphic, I'll take the over 221.5 in Rockets Thunder. This was 220.5, came up to 222.5 in some spots, but at 221 and a hook, OKC defensively let up after big wins. They are off one against San Antonio. The Rockets are at their best when they are scoring the basketball. I think you see a high-scoring game tonight between the Rockets and the Thunder. Up next, you're in for a treat. We bring Doug Kazarian in to Game Time Decisions here on a Thursday night. We'll be right back on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live here on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh now joined by one of the most respected minds in the sports betting space. That is, of course, Doug Kazarian. You can catch his work over at the New York Post. The Athletic does a bunch of good stuff here, really within the sports betting space. So, Doug, we appreciate you making some time.
Oh, good to be with you, Kevin. Awesome to connect. Obviously, a great time of year with all this football going on.
Yeah, and we'll get a little bit into some of the football, if any of these games are standing out to you early, but I know you're involved nightly, no matter what the slate is offering up here. NBA-wise, is there a game that's really jumping off of the card, side or total?
You know, it's funny. I was sitting there nodding my head as you were breaking down a few games, and I agree. We're seeing eye to eye on a few of these. I really like the Jazz tonight. And look, you raised a very good point, and saying just because somebody's missing their best player, you can't fade them. In fact, Doc Rivers would always say the worst team to face is a team down a man, because the team that's supposed to win relaxed and the others. But I just think the Jazz are a bet on spot. They just got boat raced by 55, and they responded by winning their next game outright as a double-digit dog in Cleveland. That was the last game they didn't have Markkanen. He's out with an illness tonight. But this Dallas team is borderline G League at times without Cooper Flagg and obviously without Anthony Davis. So I think the right side here is the dog plus the 3.5. Now, Dallas will play well at times, but I just think they're very disjointed. I also think they're a very deflated team. Flagg picks up a lot of the slack. Utah's pretty good. They're obviously much better at home, but I'd grab the points with the Jazz. I also like OKC here. This Houston team leaves a lot to be desired. They're 2-4 outright in their last 6 games, and they were favored in all 6 of them. 0-6 ATS during this run. Also, in their last 6 games, they're 21% from downtown, something like 51 out of 212. And this is a team with Durant and with Reed Shepherd. I just think they're hitting that proverbial wall. You know, it's the midpoint of the season, and the All-Star break comes after the midpoint, as we know. I just think, you know, even guys like Tari Eason, like when they're down a few guys, it just matters a lot. And this Thunder team went 6-6 after the NBA Cup, you know, after that 24-1 stretch. And now I think they found their groove. Had a big win for them against the Spurs because they were 0-3 against them. Maybe a little bit of a flat spot, but the Rockets bring the best out of them. I think they're going to be locked in here. I think road chalk, you never want to get in the habit of doing it, but I think it's the right team to back.
Yeah, if I were to play the side, I would only look towards OKC. I think there's a chance they kind of get back on one of those runs. I'm curious, Doug, before I ask you about some of the football, Do you have thoughts on just how OKC is priced right now in the futures market? Because there was a stretch, the books had no choice to flip them to, near minus money in a lot of these areas, but then they went 6-6. And you were reminded it's a long season and it's hard to go back-to-back, and they're hardly the healthiest group in the NBA, though I guess maybe that could work in their favor. Do you feel that they could be beat come playoff time?
Absolutely. And I think, the old days of the NBA where only like 3 teams, 2 teams can win it all because of the best of 7 format as opposed to March Madness. I think those days are gone. The NBA used to be pretty predictable, right? Not just the Kevin Durant Warriors squad where they had money at the beginning of the season. I'm talking when when there was teams that were like 2-1, plus 150, 3-1, and there was only like 3 teams that could win with whether it be the Shaq and Kobe times. And this is different. It's a different NBA where there's like 6, 7 teams that can win, right? And we haven't even hit the trade deadline. And let's not forget, this Thunder team got there and they deserve credit and they are worthy champions. But they did go to a game 7 with the Pacers and they were down at halftime and Halliburton got hurt, okay? Even before that, in the second round, they were down 2-1 to the Nuggets. In game 4, Denver was a money line favorite and on the live line. And they came back. And so they had some miraculous comebacks. And obviously last year's team was better than the previous years, but 2 years ago they wet the bed as well. Now Hartenstein, and now you mentioned the injuries, Kevin, and I just think it's more of a competitive balance. So there's no way I would bet plus 120 to win it all or whatever it is. And in general, in the futures market, you're talking week 3 of the NFL or now at the midpoint-ish of the NBA season, you really only want to grab big prices because those are the ones that adjust a lot. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen to OKC if you want to bet it and you don't, you miss the number? It goes to like pick or plus 100.
Yeah.
So what? But I'm also convinced in the other sort of futures market that I don't think SGA is going to win MVP. I think there's enough backlash on his free throw hunting and things like that. We know Jokic can't qualify. Wemby's not going to, I doubt it. I wonder, like you were talking about Giannis, so that got me thinking more and more about the MVP market. I think we could be in for like a really nice value play this time of year and how the rest of the regular season plays out. I just think there's going to be a little voter fatigue and a little free throw fatigue with SGA.
And Doug, just to add on to that idea, the Thunder winning 68 games is flatly a disappointment. Like, for everyone else, that would be a huge feather in the cap. For OKC, it is not. He's minus 400, which is far too big of a favorite. I've not yet been able to figure out the guy to get to elsewhere in the market, but I agree that the SGA numbers are too far gone. I do want to ask you, Doug, while we have you here on this Thursday, about some of the weekend action within the NFL. You have 3 really close lines and then this touchdown spread in a divisional game, right? A divisional rematch, a third time for these teams. They played 2 weeks ago, right? In week 18. Have you found yourself leaning towards laying or taking the 7 with the Seahawks and the Niners?
Yeah, I was liking the Seahawks all week, but obviously the Sam Darnold news today that he's questionable with an oblique injury, I think that moved the market from 7.5 to 7. I just think it's, we talk about this all the time in the betting space, right? You don't want to overreact to what you last saw. You can't be prisoners of the moment. You got to look beyond, and you really got to anticipate more than you react. And I think with I'm anticipating a Seahawks beatdown. I just think the Niners are hanging on by a thread. And what they did to the Eagles last week, and Kevin, I know you were very demonstrative on Twitter about Kevin Patullo and things like that, but it's really this Eagles team was pathetic, making adjustments, second half points per game, 9.7, I want to say. Bottom 10 in the league, where last year they were second in the NFL. All these other stats, they were gross in the 20s. So this Niners team, they have a couple linebackers that weren't on the team a few weeks ago. And Saleh deserves a lot of credit, but just going on the road, and then now they got to go on the road again. I think Darnold's going to be fine. I think this offense will hum. I think the defense will be elite. I know Shanahan deserves a lot of credit, but I think Seattle pulls away. I don't want any part of the +7.
It's very difficult because for San Francisco, I think there's a lot of things about the spot that are good for them. How close they've played, that they lost. They scored 3 points. They cannot possibly be that bad on offense again. They shouldn't be here. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Eagle fan. I am saying that because all of their best players, other than McCaffrey, are gone. And it is just outrageous that they have found a way to still make it through. I'll ask you quickly, Doug, with only about less than a minute here. Have you locked in anything for the national championship on Monday?
I have not. I think the price is right. I'm going to be looking to play in-game Indiana. I think Miami's going to hang around, but the one bet I like the most is the first half under. Pre-flop I like, but I do think Indiana pulls away. I'm going to look to play the Hoosiers, maybe second half, something like that. I think the coaching adjustments, don't forget that first possession in the Rose Bowl, they went 3 and out. The 2 dropbacks, they got sacked. It was good defensive plan, all that. And then they made some adjustments, and then Alabama kind of shot themselves in the foot with that 4th down play call. Bad or dumb loses more than smart wins. And I think Zignetti's just a better coach than that meathead Cristobal. So I think the in-game adjustments will be the difference maker. So I'm hoping to lay less than a touchdown, as long as we don't get a pick 6 on the first play or something like that. I think it's going to be a well-played first half.
Yeah, I played the 48.5 under as soon as they opened it. And I was like, listen, I'm going to play it now, and I hope it moves under because I do not want to keep betting it. Like, I was like, I don't want it to go 49.5 and the 50.5. I just have to bet this under 100 times. No pick 6 on the first play, please. Doug Kazarian, we appreciate it a ton right here on Sports Grid. We're going to hit this break, come right back, and take a look at the latest in the NFL's coaching market. Who is getting hired next? We'll talk about it.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back right here. It is game time decisions, and we will get into Harbaugh a little bit later on with the Giants, the expectations, and what that is going to look like. But I have really found the value for those of you who, if you like to get involved with the next coach or who this team is going to hire markets, it is obviously the place to be within these prediction markets. But also, just to get a sense, right, of the movement. And I thought it was very noteworthy that Harbaugh was the first, and for a stretch, only name to be above 50% for any coach opening. He hit 54%. We had talked about that here on SportsGrid, and then on the night of, right? And I believe the next day went around 74%. And then, again, it feels like this foregone conclusion. If you look right now, there are actually 2 different job openings where we are seeing a 50% number for that head coach. Though these do move with some frequency, and actually, one of them got smashed the other direction, so that's actually great because we've been tracking these within the hour leading up to the show. So let's start with the one that is over 50%. That's very interesting, and that is Clint Kubiak to Atlanta. And again, I wouldn't shake that off. He right now to become the Falcons' next head coach is at 56%, and why I think that really tracks is Atlanta was a team who would have loved the chance to hire Harbaugh. I wonder if people are well aware of how the pecking order in the building really looked. And if that is the case, then the Kubiak stuff is just going to fly in, right? Because people know, all right, time to pivot. And there are some people who love this Falcons job. There is a respected Denver Broncos, primarily Denver-based NFL reporter, Benjamin Albright, who put out a full scope, and I know he projected Clint Kubiak to Atlanta. So there's certainly some smoke to that fire. Stefanski is the name that follows at 23%. He's the only other name that I think right now seems to be in the race based on the prediction markets here for Atlanta. So the other name that was at 50%, but seemingly has, again, within the last hour, shifted massively. And you actually can track these, so I know that I'm not crazy. I didn't missee this. Jeff Hafley, the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, was 50% for the Miami Dolphins job. It is 38%. It was, I guess, hard sold once it topped that 50%. And, I mean, it was at 49.1 at 6 o'clock here on the East, 6:47. So in the last 45 minutes, this number has really come down. A bit of steam on Chris Shula. Stefanski is a name that you can watch as well, seemingly here. But that's a very, very interesting move. To see that stark movement there, I think what is also interesting right now within the NFL Open, all of these openings, is figuring out who are the definitely going to get hired guys and try and make sure that each of them have a seat. Like Jeff Hafley feels like a definitely getting hired guy, right? The Packers DC. I think people, again, will be super excited that they can announce that hire soon due to the fact that some of these other coaches could be coaching not just this week, but next week. You have to figure out the interviews and things of that nature. But Jeff Hafley feels like he's going to be hired. It feels like Clint Kubiak is going to get hired for sure. One of the trickier names is Brian Flores. Right now, Flores, from how I see it, based just, again, on these markets here, is the favorite for just one job, and it's one of the it's the shortest favorite for any job, which is at 21% for the Raiders job. Kubiak's 18, Stefanski 9, Saleh 8, Kingsbury 8. Like you've got a very, very short number right now for a favorite in Brian Flores. So is there a seat for Flores? I know a lot of people think Matt Nagy is going to go to Tennessee. That's been rumored for a while. My one thing, and not that the Tennessee Titans brass is probably watching this, but what an awful decision that is. I mean, noted by the fact that nobody else is hiring Matt Nagy. Is anybody else considering Matt Nagy? I mean, it's ridiculous. But I can already tell you, worst hire of the cycle, that. Nothing, there's not another potential hire that could be worse than hiring Matt Nagy. The Patrick Mahomes drop-off that we've talked about here on this show, is it all coincidence that it's when they got rid of Eric Bieniemy and brought Matt Nagy back into the building? Maybe. Maybe not. For sure, Matt Nagy already got his chance leaving Kansas City, and it didn't go well. That for sure happened. So it doesn't make much sense at all, actually. Like, not even a little bit. So it's an interesting one. The one thing I will say, I'm a little disappointed in with the prediction markets. Right? We expect them to have odds on everything. Where's the Eagles' offensive coordinator market? I mean, what's the deal? I mean, I'm trying to figure out where Brian Dable. First of all, let's be very clear about this. Do you think that it is more noteworthy who the Titans hire or who the Eagles hire at OC? Do you think more people will discuss the Arizona Cardinals head coach or the Eagles offensive coordinator? Does anybody here think that Brian Dable or Mike McDaniel, the two top candidates seemingly the Eagles want, are bigger names than whoever these teams are going to hire? Eagles offensive coordinator job might be the number one job in the market, people are saying. Best Bets next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions back right here on SportsGrid. Some updates on availability in the NBA with becoming a little bit of the big game here on Game Time Decisions. Jazz Mavs. Nobody's playing. No P.J. Washington. No Daniel Gafford. Nobody's playing. Book seemingly a little ready for it, though. Line only goes down to 2.5 towards Utah, but at 3.5, you got a nice number here. I think the Jazz are set up very well against Dallas. We've talked about that. Taking a look right now, though, at the 7 o'clock window here, you are going to introduce a handful of these games on the NHL slate. That includes your primetime game between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. As Sid the Kid And the Penguins look to snap a little bit of a losing streak here, in which Crosby's actually not recorded a point. So we'll see if he can, a little correlated situation certainly makes sense. Similar number for the Caps. They're at home against the San Jose Sharks. You've got the Blue Jackets and the Canucks going off in Columbus. And then everybody's favorite game, the Buffalo Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens. Chris is on an over 6.5 for this game. And then my co-host on Game Time Decisions, Josh Doan, he's here as often as a co-host, for a goal is Yarnell's best bet. He has not scored in 3 straight games. He has been on the best bet graphic in every single game that he could have possibly been on the graphic this week. So, very interesting. Very, very interesting to see, but that is what we're getting tonight on the NHL slate. You see AJ with the Hornets, me with the Thunder, and the Rockets. I am involved with this 7 o'clock tip in the NBA between Detroit and Phoenix. The Pistons check in right now as 7.5-point favorites. This at one point in the day was kicking up to 8.5. It has since come back around. Phoenix is a team that gets respect because really they've earned it. They're the best team against the number in the entire league. They sit 24-16. They've really smashed a lot of the expectations. They'll be one of the easier win total overs that'll cash this year. But this is not a good spot for them. I think some people are probably looking to bet them off of a loss, but Detroit is off of a loss, and they have not yet lost back-to-back home games this year. They're 14-4 straight up overall at home, and the Pistons are bringing back a handful of guys. Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren, most notably, while Devin Booker is out for this basketball game. This will be the 4th game that D-Book misses. They have lost at Houston by 19, beat Minnesota by 3, and then lost to Oklahoma City by a gazillion. I think it was by 49, all in all. The point is, it's far more likely they get decimated if they're playing a team capable of it, which Detroit is. Off a loss, I think the Pistons will be very locked in to put this up on the board. There are 2 7:30 games, so in case we do not get to them before tip, I will remind people I am on Oklahoma City, Houston over at 221.5. Let me look around market right now and see how available that number is. Yeah, it's still right out there, 221.5, some flat 222. The Thunder off of their what I've categorized as bigger wins this year. Typically, you do not see the defense come along for that next game. So I think that sets up for them to allow Houston to get to their spots tonight. And the Rockets are actually at their best when they are offensively locked in. And I just think OKC will handle their business scoring. I lean OKC within the game on the number. They are getting back tonight Lou Dort. He was another one of those injury updates that we got. So he's going to play. So I really like the over at 221.5, but I'm also playing this Boston team total tonight. Really interesting number, just a 2.5-point spread in South Beach for the Celtics, who have lost 2 in a row, 3 of their last 4, with the offense struggling in some of these losses, including the last 2. Now, Jaylen Brown didn't play in that game against the Indiana Pacers, so that is certainly a part of the problem, but they did not score over 100 points in either of their last 2 games. That happened once in the prior 37 games, and it was early season. So I think you've got a real bounce-back spot for the Celtics offense in what projects to be a super up-and-down game being played at the Miami Heat's pace. If Miami scores, great. If they win, cool. I'm just focused on Boston getting over the 118.5, and I think that's exactly what they will do. John Harbaugh to New York. We'll talk about it next.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you here on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh on this Thursday night. We got a number of games that are going to be getting underway soon. We do have some big news in New York, which is, of course, Harbaugh making his way to the New York Giants. The John Harbaugh conversations are ones that I am a little mystified by. I do not intend to rain on everyone's parade, but John Harbaugh did not step away from Baltimore in the way that Mike Tomlin just did Pittsburgh or Sean Payton did New Orleans. Hey, Harbaugh didn't even necessarily bottom out where everybody can agree, we need a fresh coat of paint like Andy Reid did back in Philly. And it's certainly not the age that Andy Reid was when he left Philadelphia. What John Harbaugh did was have one Super Bowl run, and that was great, and it was incredible with Joe Flacco. And he has mostly been over 500 while in Baltimore, which is not nothing. But the last stretch of Harbaugh's tenure in Baltimore was met with pretty significantly missing out on expectations. I understand it is difficult to win a Super Bowl. But the Baltimore Ravens had routinely found themselves as Super Bowl favorites and were viewed as the team with the best roster in the league. In 2019, when Lamar Jackson became the full-time starter, they went 14-2. Were the number one seed in the conference. And that does not mean you have to win a Super Bowl. Probably means you have to beat Tennessee in the divisional round with Ryan Tannehill. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. No? Probably. It's a team that then had, a little up and down. They actually, the following year, got their lick back against Tennessee. They went to Buffalo. They didn't get it done. Then Lamar suffering some injuries, right? They're not making the playoffs because he's injured. They're going into playoff games without him because of the injury. And then you get to 2023, and the Baltimore Ravens, again the 1 seed. Lamar, again the league MVP. You make a conference championship game. And I'm not going to say the season's a failure, but gosh, that last game was unacceptable. You played a team who couldn't stop the run. You're the most lethal rush attack in the sport. You throw it 37 times. Kansas City didn't score in the second half in your stadium, and you lost. I don't know, pretty unacceptable. Last year, Lamar almost wins another MVP. You beat Pittsburgh, who cares? They're a doormat. You go to Buffalo, and people will probably, there's no shame in losing at Buffalo. The thing is, this Ravens team has entered almost every game home or road as favorites. So that was a disappointment. And then this year was their biggest disappointment. And I know we can say that, well, Lamar was injured. Yeah, but they had been disappointing for half a decade prior with the best roster in football and a quarterback who basically now, as long as he can play another 7 years, is a first ballot Hall of Famer in Lamar Jackson, already on resume. So the Giants, who have dealt with a lot of losing and a lot of turnover, hire Harbaugh because the thought is this will stop that, right? They're going to have Harbaugh until he retires, and they're going to be routinely winning games, and they'll just naturally progress to the ceiling. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it's just objectively a step down, roster-wise. I don't know if anybody in the world could possibly believe Jackson Dart is of Lamar Jackson's caliber. Neighbors is an incredibly exciting player. He is off of a torn ACL. Cam Scottaboo is an incredibly exciting running back. He is off of a catastrophic injury in the middle of the year. Andrew Thomas looks like a great tackle when he plays. Super injured. I think Brian Burns and Abdul Carter can be one of the best edge rushing, duos in football. The defense still needs to be built out more. They're picking 5th, and again, we've talked about this already this week. People think they're going to draft wide receiver. I don't know what's going on, but okay. So here's my thing. For Harbaugh and for Giants fans, what are you expecting in year one? Because by the time you get to your preseason, right now, right, you're like, I don't know, above 500, make the playoffs? Okay. Not going to be easy, right? I mean, to make the playoffs, you have to think you're going to have to more than double your win total from last year. It happens. Teams do it. But the NFC East is going nowhere. Dallas will get better. Jaden Daniels will be healthy. Eagles will be active in it no matter what happens. That, at worst, they're in it. At best, they're dominant. So, okay, maybe it's year one. Give them some time. I mean, Harbaugh doesn't have anything to do with the offense or the defense. He's already interested in just bringing back the staff he had in Baltimore. Well, that was going great. I love it. Okay. That's odd. Harbaugh lost a bunch of close games. Harbaugh blew a bunch of big leads. I feel like this guy was this can't-miss candidate because you were told he was a can't-miss candidate. I don't think that. I don't think that. It's winning 8, 9 games every year when you have Lamar Jackson is something else than what he's going to be doing here in New York. And I will just add this quickly. Someone said, biased take. First of all, most unbiased man in history of sports media. What are you talking about? Second of all, before any of this happened, people thought that if the Eagles lost to the Niners, they'd fire Sirianni and hire Harbaugh. And I said I didn't want Harbaugh. I would have taken Harbaugh over Sirianni just because I want Sirianni out of the building. That's where I'm at. But this isn't, I'm not hating on the Giants. They run the commercial. I want well for you. I do. So tell me what you want for yourself. Do you believe with John Harbaugh, who is going to be 64 next season, is going to bring you to the Super Bowl? I don't think you think that. I don't think you think that. I mean, maybe it's like, hey, it was a bad coaching class. We've heard that. The Giants are going to have the worst odds to win the NFC East next year, right? Like they're for sure going to be behind Philly and Dallas, right? And then probably also Washington. Well, it's like, don't worry, Harbaugh will draw up. Huh? His culture, the culture that was a mess in Baltimore. You tell me what your expectations are, and I'll root him in. You let me know. We'll talk to Coach James Young.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
JY, man. JY put me on to some highlights that I hadn't previously been watching. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, folks. Listen, that's not going to win most professional intro at 2026. I'll do better next segment. Coach James Young is here on GameTime Decisions. Great to have him, host of both pro and college basketball today on SportsGrid. JY, let's get into the college game a little bit here, because I know there's a couple of off the beaten path games that you're betting. They may have started already, but let the people know what you locked in.
Yes, this is a JY delight. We going Bobby Moe. By the way, Kevin, do you know what famous rapper was a running back at Robert Morris University?
No, I don't.
Wale was a running back.
Really? Wow.
And Bobby Moe. So guess what? Lotus Flower Bomb. We're going with Bobby Moe. 5.5. It's on right now versus IU Indy. Bobby Moe 1-4 against the spread the last 5 games. But if you look at what IU is, Indy, which is bottom 100 in offensive, defensive, and efficiency, they don't turn the ball. Bobby Moe owns the boards. The other team doesn't turn you over, doesn't block shots. Should be enough for Bobby Moe to get the win in the cover. That game is late in the first half. You may be able to jump in right now.
And then there's a Green Bay game as well.
Yes, the Reggie White special tonight is Green Bay. I can't believe I'm betting with Doug Gottlieb. But I'm going to go for it. Doug Gottlieb, they're going to score at least 77 points over Cleveland State. Cleveland State's given up 90 plus the last 2 games. They're bottom 50 in most defensive categories, like another team. Doesn't rebound, doesn't block shots, and they do give up too many points. Green Bay, over 76.5 points tonight.
All right, that is excellent, JY. We will get to the NBA. I just, I've been trying to figure out how to bring up the story a little bit, but I think maybe with you here, it's probably the best way to do it. There was a big news today around a lot of point shaving scandals going on in college basketball primarily. And there's a lot of different ways to assess this. There's a number of takeaways I had. The one thing I will say, you read it, JY, and it's hard not to feel for like the teammates, coaches, fans of the programs that see this, because it makes everything feel so dirty, right? The season's in question, and and I know that it's not supposed to really be leaked into within the season, though some of these guys are still playing. But there's a level of trust that gets broken, and I think that's one of the things is you hate to see the integrity of the game challenged in this way. The thing that I offer up, because I do get very defensive over this, because there's a lot of people when stories like this happen and swoop in, they don't understand sports betting and they offer up commentary. They believe that, sports betting being legal is the only reason that this stuff happens. It's just not the case. You could try and argue that it is more likely, though I don't know if there's a lot of evidence of that. There's a number of documentaries and different things that this stuff's been going on as old as time. It just has been, right? And it's unfortunate, but I actually have always been someone who believes that the sports betting becoming legal makes it far more likely that they are going to then catch people who do these things, JY. It's gonna, the mind pulls in a number of directions, but I'm wondering where this story landed for you.
It hurts. It hurts as a college basketball coach. It hurts as someone that loves the game. But this has been going on since the beginning of time. You can look at the CCNY and the point shaving in the 50s. You can look at the Headache Smith stuff at Arizona State in the 90s. You can even look at, think about a lot of our favorite movies is Goodfellas. Part of that is based off of the BC point scandal of the late 70s with Jim Sweeney. So, for us, this has always been going on. I think because gambling is legal, I think you're going to see more of this get caught and brought to our attention. Plus, with the fact that kids using social media and obviously texting, it's a lot easier to get a trail of where this stuff is coming from. But it hurts. It hurts. It hurts the coach. It hurts the university. It hurts the players. It hurts the other team. It hurts college basketball. And it bothers me that this is going on. But Kevin, I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're going to see this once a year or twice a year. We're going to get more of these. Mm-hmm. They're going to come down the pipe, and people are going to get caught. And you're going to sit there and say, well, JY, we'll get rid of point shaving or we'll get rid of legal sports gambling, and that is going to fix it. Absolutely not. Like, you think this is going to go away just because they make gambling illegal? First things first, it's not going to happen. Secondly, I think it actually, I actually think it's almost better because when they're going to the sports books and they're making all these bets, stuff is getting flagged. So it's almost like you're going to get more people getting caught because I think there's a better way to get it under control by seeing some irregular gambling activity.
The one thing that I think, because a lot of people believe that one of the fixes to this stuff is getting rid of props. I actually think that this shows that this is not just about props, right? It's about less discussed events, right? Townsend, UNC, AT, Kent State, Buffalo, Northern Kentucky, Robert Morris. So you see that but the thing is, again, like, and the Pete Thamel has the tweets, like $500,000 bet on a Townsend game is going to just send off alarm bells. It absolutely is. And because it's outrageous. Of all the games he mentioned, only one featured a major conference, and it was DePaul against St. John's. The thing with DePaul is they legitimately might as well have not been a major conference team. Yeah, so like,
they've been good for 30 years.
It's a very it's a very interesting thing. I do think, like, the more stuff they find like this, it's for the better. It's tough now. It's for the better. Let's talk some NBA with JY after the break.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, JY back in the mix here on a Thursday night. JY, let's figure out some of the action that you're on. We'll talk Lakers-Hornets in a little bit. But I know that this game between Milwaukee and San Antonio jumps off the page to you. I'm involved in this one as well. What do you like here, Spurs-Bucks?
I'm going to take the Spurs minus the 7.5 points, Kevin. When you look at the Spurs, 3-1 against the spread coming off that blowout loss to OKC. Bucks 1-3 against the spread. You saw the last time they played, Giannis booing the fans. By the way, like, Julius Randle got cussed out by the Knicks fans. Why is anybody mad at Giannis for what he did, booing his own fans? But that's a story for another time. Bucks not playing well. Spurs are playing well. I think the Bucks are in a bad, bad way. I'm going to lay the 7.5 for San Antonio tonight.
JY, I don't mind laying that 7.5, but you mentioned Giannis. I think he's in line for a really big game. He has loved the opportunity to play against Victor Wembanyama. 35, 15, and 7. So stupid. So dumb. How is he? He's so good, Giannis. Against, like, no one can attack Wemby, and Giannis like, actually, I can. I can do anything I want. 35, 15, and 7. I took his points, rebounds at 38.5. But you hit on something, JY. Giannis, the fans. Do you think it is possible that Giannis is not a Milwaukee Buck after this trade deadline?
You know what, Kevin? I was thinking about this, and I talked about it on Pro Basketball Today. The longer that Giannis is there, and the more Milwaukee starts to slide, and the more frustrated he gets, I think they keep losing leverage. So to me, you have to draw a line in the sand right now if you're Milwaukee. Either you make another big trade and you go all in. The problem is, Kevin, who do you have to trade? Kevin Porter Jr., Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma? None of those guys are going to get you anything. So if you can't swing and get someone to make Giannis happy, I think you get rid of him now. I think you get rid of him now. You get more value back for him, and maybe more teams get in the mix because it's in season, especially in the East. Teams are going to think we could be ready. If you say it's middle season, if we get Giannis, do we move up the stratosphere and become a title contender? Cleveland, if they trade one of the bigs for Giannis, yes. If New York gets rid of Cat because now there's problems with Cat, yes. If, obviously, if Oklahoma City's like, you know what, forget it. We're going to throw some of our trade assets and we want to set up the next 5 years, go get him. Yeah. So to me, whoever gets Giannis, especially in season, depending on where the standings are, you take a monumental leap into that next stratosphere of playoff, NBA final, or championship contenders. If I'm Milwaukee, Kevin, I do it now. I get rid of him now. I don't want to risk injury or anything. Get rid of him now during the season where more teams, I haven't seen, Kevin, could be involved.
So this is the question, I think, though, where I am trying not to be foolish about how the NBA works, which is typically a player of Giannis's level will absolutely decide where he wants to go. But my case is Giannis is being foolish about all of this. Giannis is so unwilling to request a trade. It is the bizarre decision. He's like, man, if they trade me, but I will not request a trade. But if they trade me, Knicks, but I will not request a trade. And to me, Coach, if that's how he wants to play it, then send him wherever you get the best deal. And I just wonder if the team he is playing tonight says, you know what, man? If we get that guy with Victor Wembanyama, the issues we've already given Oklahoma City, we're winning the title this year. That's not a crazy thought from San Antonio. It's not.
No, and then the fact that with the guys that they have between Vassell, Kelly Johnson, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, you can trade two of those guys, find some fillers in there, and really still have significant depth. That's the thing about makes San Antonio interesting. You can make the trade and not gut the entire franchise and set yourself up to win now, but also to win the next 5 to 6 years.
All right, still plenty of basketball to get into with Coach James Young. We'll talk a little bit about Oklahoma City before they tip off against the Houston Rockets. You guys know I'm really involved with that game tonight. We will also Lakers-Hornets in a very interesting number. What will we see from Los Angeles at home against Charlotte? We'll find out what Coach likes after the break right here on SportsGrid.
Let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, 7:30 tips in the NBA. It's Rockets, Thunder, it's Heat, Celtics. I am on the Celtics team total over at 118.5 against Miami. I am on the over 221 at a hook between Houston and OKC. JY, what are you expecting? Maybe you're not betting this game tonight, but Rockets, Thunder, what are you looking for with these two Western Conference heavyweights?
Well, I'm looking for a team in Houston just they've been kind of a little bit up and down lately. You wonder if OKC, with that big win by, double digits, almost 20 points versus the Spurs, if they started to right their ship a little bit. But to me, if I'm looking at anyone, if it's Houston, I got to get a really good game out of Alperen Şengün. Since he's been, he's missed a couple of games. He's been back since the first. He had one game where he sat out against Dallas, but he's gone under his points prop in 4 of the last 5 games. This is a big spot for him tonight. I look for him. If Houston's going to make a push here and win or probably steal this game or cover the 4.5, 5.5 point spread at home, you need Alperen Şengün to have a good game tonight. They actually really do need it. And with Hartenstein out, he should be able to eat down low.
Having Şengün back is certainly going to make the difference for this Rockets team. I know they didn't get right in his first game back, but 11 assists against the Bulls. You see what he brings to this basketball team. So, JY, late night here, Lakers against the Hornets. One of the more interesting lines, early in this NBA season, for me at least. Look, I know the Lakers are missing Austin Reeves. That's a part of it. But this is a number that not only says, hey, the Lakers are not as good as their record, it says Charlotte's a team to watch. And that was the case certainly when they beat Utah by 55. But I don't know. Maybe it's that OKC victory. Maybe that's the turning point here. What are you looking for in LA and Charlotte?
Yeah, I'm actually doing something that I'm starting to do now on the app, and I call it the stat stack, where it's kind of like a 3-game parlay, kind of play it any way you want. I'm going to start with Brandon Miller over 19.5 points. I know he's gone under the last 3, but 4 of the previous 5 has gone over this. Small forwards have a 67% hit rate in the last 10 games versus the Lakers. And the Lakers, although they're 17th in points per game allowed, and this may be LeBron defensively, they're dead last in points per game allowed to small forwards. I'm going to go with Brandon Miller over 19.5 points. Kai Kneppel over 4.5 rebounds, over 5 in the last 6 games. 10, remember, earlier in the season, 10 rebound game versus the Lakers. Lakers are 25th in rebounds per game to shooting guards, and because Austin Reeves isn't there, that puts more on Luka Doncic's plate. Noah defensively on, I think Charlotte can stay in front of Luka. So I'm going Luka Doncic over 8.5 assists over 4 of the last 5 games. He has a 58% hit rate without Austin Reeves. No strong perimeter defender. Luka Doncic over 8.5 assists tonight.
All right, so a little SGP there, which I know people love to get involved with, and we'll see. You know, JY, yesterday I had the chance to talk to Arash Markazi here on the show. Does an excellent job covering LA sports, and we talked a little Lakers and just LeBron and Reeves and what's next. And, you know, JY, this is a very different situation. Whenever the trade deadline approaches in the prior 22 seasons, you feel, of LeBron's career, the idea of a team making moves to get better, to win, we're accustomed to, right? This Lakers team making moves to get better, though, is not through the lens of what LeBron needs. But I am of the belief that this Lakers brass is somehow more, if they find it important to be like, it's not LeBron's team, so we're not making deals, when you have the second for MVP favorite in Luka Doncic, you have a team that does not make sense fully. And I think everybody knows that. And Arash had said, this is not a team built for Luka. It's like holdovers from a team that at one point was built for LeBron. So I know people got upset with Rich Paul, and I get it's not a great chemistry thing to have him trading Austin Reeves on his podcast. But Rich isn't wrong. But the alternative to trading Reeves is trading LeBron. And I don't think it's crazy for the Lakers to consider trading one of those guys and giving themselves an actual chance this year in the Western Conference.
Kevin, they have to move one of them. Not maybe. They have to. Think about this. They played a chunk of the season without LeBron with Austin Reeves. Now they're playing a chunk of the season without Austin Reeves with LeBron. So they haven't even really been together on the floor all that much anyway. But if you look at it, folks, the way people need to realize this, because people are like, OKC. There is a 3-game loss column between 2nd and 7th in the West. That's how razor thin it is. So if you're the Lakers, you have to think about this. And this is the question that Rob Pelinka and manager have to ask themselves. Do we try to hit the home run now, keep LeBron, move Austin Reeves? Or do we try and set ourselves up for the next 5-6 years, move LeBron, see what we can get in return, and go from there? You can't have it both ways. There needs to be a move. Kevin, you got to remember, because of this being the 15th, Kuminga, now he can get traded. Jared Jackson Jr., now he can get traded. I think maybe Bridges is another guy that could be traded. This is where it's going to get crazy, Kevin. There's going to be a lot of movement because when you look at the East, same thing. 4 games between 2nd and 7th, or 8th, I should say. So you should see a ton of movement with teams jockeying for position, and it would be malpractice for the Lakers if they did not move one of them by the deadline.
And yeah, probably gonna just keep doing more of the same. And I think that's going to be interesting. JY, let me ask you about your team tonight out west against the Golden State Warriors. I'm curious, firstly, do you like anything in this game tonight against Golden State? Is something that we should be keeping our eye on? Of course, no Brunson in the game.
No, I wouldn't be looking at anything with the Knicks right now. No Brunson tonight. The story more is about Karl Anthony Towns. I think the organization's starting to turn south on him. That is another name to watch is Karl Anthony Towns. I think they're a little sick of his antics. Mike Brown called him out last night during the post-game news conference versus Sacramento in a play where he literally went down, didn't get touched. They went down the other end, threw 4 passes, got an offensive rebound, shot it again, loose ball, and then all of a sudden Cat got up and ran down the floor and tried to get the steal. This is some wild stuff going on in New York. Something tells me they're disjointed, and Cat is going to be the culprit. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks made a move, and if they made the move, he's going to be the fall guy, and he's going to be the one going.
Well, then let me ask you this, because that's what I wanted to get to. Do you think then this Brunson injury maybe came at the right time or at the worst time?
I don't think there's a right or a wrong time. It's all about Cat. You know, PJ Tucker was on Melo's podcast saying if Cat is engaged, the Knicks go to the finals. If he's not engaged, they may make it out of the first round. What are you going to do here? Listen, I know I sound crazy. Cat makes $53.1 million. Anthony Davis makes $54.1 million. You add Mo Diarra to it, you could do Mo Diarra, Cat for AD. I'm telling you, there's a reason why AD did not get surgery. He's going to get moved, and you wonder if New York is going to go panic and trade for AD.
It's going to be so interesting to follow, and I know you're going to do a great job, of course, keeping track of everything on both pro and college basketball. Today, the college deadline, who knows, maybe a few years from now. Can you imagine? Caravan for Malachi Moreno. Call it in. Great stuff from JY. We'll update the live board after the break here on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, not going to be easy in Detroit. Suns up 9 at the end of that opening quarter. Cade Cunningham delivers a 1 of 7 performance from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. You get that from your best guy, it's not going to help. The bench minutes were abysmal for this. Everyone is -6 or worse right now who's off of Detroit's bench. So it's just a bad start overall, albeit an early start to that basketball game. Miami's offense on a heater off the jump. Andrew Wiggins has already made a couple of threes. Tyler Hero with a couple of buckets as well. But that's fine. Like I said, I have no problem with Miami scoring. It's just going to push Boston even more. So that is off and running. And this Thunder Rockets game is underway as well. OKC with a very, very early game just started, 5-3 lead in that game. Chet Holmgren is on the board with an opening three. You do have, from a college basketball angle tonight, just the one game, which is Gonzaga, of course, in the WCC at Washington State. They are laying 18.5 points. And, we're at this time of year with Gonzaga where, this team really shouldn't lose again, right? Like, it's not a banner year for, St. Mary's. They're 17-2. Maybe I'm being harsh on St. Mary's. I just feel like you usually hear a little bit more about St. Mary's at this point in the calendar. Maybe that's on me. Santa Clara projects like a top 50 team. That's it in terms of top 100 teams right now on KenPom. It's what we're used to. They're 17-1. What's interesting, what's very interesting for Gonzaga is the one loss was such a massacre by Michigan. And if you look at the other out-of-conference games, Kentucky's fighting for their lives. We saw that last night against LSU, right? That was supposed to be a huge, huge marquee win. I'm not saying it's not a good win, but it was supposed to probably be a lot more than it was. Similar for UCLA, preseason top 25 team. They're now outside of the top 40. Bama's going to hold up. Maryland's awful. Arizona State's not very good. Down year for Creighton. Oklahoma doesn't bring a lot. It's interesting, and I don't think we're at the point yet where they're flipping up odds to be number one seeds, but it's going to be very interesting. Is Gonzaga going to be a number one seed? Let me pull up the most recent bracketology, actually, and see where they are projecting the Zags. We've got Arizona, Michigan, UConn, and Iowa State right now. So what's really the path for the Zags to get up to a 1? The St. Mary's wins are going to be big, so I guess I shouldn't discount that. The at Santa Clara win will help the resume. But my thing is just like, do they have to win out in order to be a number one seed at Gonzaga? Like, it's very, very interesting. When we think about national title odds for the Zags, sitting at 22-1. If they win out, that number's going to be halved, more than. But they're an interesting team to follow. Let's update the live NHL slate here. It is a party in the back. It is a party. Wow. 2-1 Buffalo with Josh Doan making it 2-1. What's this live total? A gazillion? This is the highest scoring hockey game ever? 8.5. Middle? Only if you took all three, you had already cashed. That'd have been good. Columbus up 1-0 on Vancouver. Get excited. Primetime hockey, Pittsburgh up 2-0 on the Flyers. That totals 6.5 as well. That's what we're seeing right now on this live board. That's where we're at. Okay, all right. Enough of this Miami rout of Boston. Sam Hauser, only one to score. Ugh. All right, you know what I mean? Let's shake it off. Shake it. Come on now. We got to get this right. We got to get this right. It'd be nice. Quick I just wanted to quickly go off of some of the stuff that we talked about with Coach James Young as far as the NBA deadline. And these are, there's a few markets that are reoccurring for us in terms of the prediction markets here on Game Time decisions, because I think they're really, really fun to follow, and I think it's good for us then to get a grasp on them. The one that I think at some point we'll probably incorporate a little bit more is the players traded before the deadline. It's a really long list that right now has 6 different players above 50% to be traded. One of them is very confusing, though. One of them is Chris Paul. Was Chris Paul not released? Is Chris Paul on an NBA roster? I feel like he's not on an NBA roster. For sure, trade the no, right? For sure, trade the thing that can't happen. Is he going to get signed? Is he going to get signed and traded? I don't understand. Simply not following. Is Chris Paul? I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. Listen. We see inaccurate markets all the time. I just need to do a little bit of digging. Was he released, or was he just sent home? Is he on the roster still? He's got to be. But he was just like showing up to other games, willy-nilly. People at Buffalo were furious with Chris Paul in attendance. What is going on? I don't think is he on this roster? Technically? Wow. That's one way to find out Chris Paul is still a Clipper. I mean, shout out Kalshi on it. Wow. Who's trading for Chris Paul? Who are they negotiating with? His wife? To get him out of the house? What is this? You got to be kidding me. We'll let you know who's over 50% and get your best bets. Rest of the card on the way out. Game time decisions on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, game time decisions back here on a Thursday night. We're talking Chris Paul destinations on a Thursday night. Can't wait to see if Chris Paul gets traded. Kyle Kuzma, Zach LaVine, Michael Porter Jr., Malik Monk, and Ja Morant are heavily expected to be dealt. Klay Thompson, Kobe White, AD are the guys at 40% right now. It is incredible that we cannot get a great read on whether or not Anthony Davis will be traded. It's like, yes, they don't want him, and some teams want him, but he's also so injured, we don't know. It's just like Only Anthony Davis. And it's a shame, and you hope that gets sorted out. We'll see if it does. We will be following the live action, which is where 3 of the best bets already are, over Rockets and Thunder, over Canadians, Sabres. Josh Doan has already scored a plus 270. I always said it was good to just keep betting this guy to score goals. And I'm really glad that Sam listened to me, honestly. Really nice to see. Hornets Mooney line for AJ. A little Charlotte 1-2 step. UNC, I know, let him down last night. He goes back to the region and plays the Hornets out in Los Angeles. So that's what we're seeing there. No further questions, please. Bucks Spurs, big game tonight. Giannis Antetokounmpo show is in town. Is Giannis playing for his future team? Nobody thinks that other than me. A little bit. I'm not even saying it's a guarantee, although why not? What's the harm? I just think if you're San Antonio, it could be a franchise-changing decision in a positive way. And maybe Giannis has no interest, but that sounds crazy. Here's the question. So let's just assume, going back to Milwaukee in this deal, is Dylan Harper. I assume he would be the more coveted piece on the Milwaukee side. They keep Fox, Castle, obviously Victor Wembanyama. San Antonio right now at 12-1 to win the title. If they added Giannis, goes to what? Denver is 7-1. 4-1? I think at least the Thunder number comes back. It just does. When you can put 2 players of this caliber together in Victor Wembanyama and Giannis Antetokounmpo, like you have to be. They'd probably end up my title pick. It's just that overwhelming. It'd be the best defense in like all of a sudden OKC wouldn't have the best defense in basketball possibly. That's what bringing these 2 guys together could potentially make a reality for Milwaukee. So maybe Giannis tonight showcases a little bit. He has always shown up when Victor Wembanyama is on the other side. In their first 3 meetings, he has given some very modest stat lines. 44, 14, and 7, 25, 16, and 8, 35, 14, and 6. I'm on his over 38.5 points plus rebounds. I think it is on the board that Giannis scores 50. I don't know, it feels like Giannis might hit that jackpot, though what a shame it wasn't Bryce Sensabaugh last night. In which case, surely they would have just rolled it over. Or they would have had to give someone a $2 million bonus bet. Because Bryce Sensabaugh, come on, dude. Like, just 50, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm being mean. I like the Jazz at plus 3.5. It's down to 2.5. I think they win the basketball game. I think they are set up pretty well here tonight against Dallas, who are missing so many guys. And I think the Jazz, we know how much they rely on pace and scoring. I think the Mavericks are going to really struggle to score in that game. Without Cooper, without Anthony Davis, without P.J. Washington, Christie, it's a starting lineup's worth of players that one of the worst teams in basketball is missing. So I feel good about Utah in this game. That number right now still at plus 2.5. Don't forget just to keep your eyes over there at the Sony Open. If you're looking for some late-night action, the Sony is live right now. Ben Griffin is the favorite. His day is finished up. There's a lot of good guys. Hideki, Siwoo Kim, they're all out there right now. In-game live, I am sure we'll be following that and the rest of your slate. And that is next right here on SportsGrid.